Hello, I've just found a whole load of film material that I shot years ago at the Devon County Show, and I've decided to edit it together, bung it together really, just because all this sort of thing, of course, is out of bounds during all these pandemic lockdowns. The idea that we can all get together again and herd ourselves into one place to enjoy the ramifications and the colours and images of the great rural world of agriculture sounds like a promising thing for the future. Anyway, here we are at the Devon Show, and you can all recognise that lady, Camilla. She seems a very friendly soul. I've talked to her a couple of times. She's very pleasant. And there's Peter Hall, an old colleague of mine, the man in the middle with the tie, looking round. A charming chap, if ever there was one. So the crowd's milling around, and the other thing you see in these images are loads and loads of press, photographers and TV cameramen. There they all are on the steps, all trying to get shots of Camilla. Well, not many of those exist anymore, alas. They've all gone. I think that's Peter Hall just taking his hat off. Very polite of him too. Getting a handshake from Her Royal Highness. Yeah, so people in close proximity with one another. Well, I look forward to those days returning again, because I do love the big agricultural county shows. The Devon and the Royal Cornwall and the Bath and West, all down here in the southwest. And then of course there are lots of smaller, more area-based shows like the wonderful Dunster Show. I know that chap, he's a butcher. And those wonderful red Devon bulls there. Are they Welsh blacks we're looking at? I don't know. I'm not that brilliant at my beef breeds. But anyway, yeah, this always happens in Maytime, I think, the Devon, and I'm sort of hoping that May 2021 we'll be back to doing this sort of thing again. Meeting in crowds and crowds of people. It's just wonderful to watch, I think. This film was taken on an old video camera, by the way, in the days when we used to put tapes in, and see now it's all digital and you get better quality, but it's not too bad, and it's just worth looking at these scenes again. I think you get some wonderful breeds there. Is that the English park cattle, the white ones? Maybe. And this is a job I wouldn't fancy doing, polishing up the hooves of cattle, and you know, big kick there, I should think. Anyway, here's some people I interviewed.
I'm a senior cattle steward and commentator in the Tesco Arena at the Devon County Show.
Do you have any idea how many entries have turned up this year in the cattle?
I can't tell you for sure, but we obviously quite down. Two reasons probably: the blue tongue keeping away some of the exhibitors that come from the east in the protected zone, and obviously the effect of TB. I think we have tremendous quality at the Devon County Show, and luckily the herds that are bringing out those very best animals are still unaffected. And we're very lucky to have those exhibitors come here, and they do set a very high standard, and I suppose people thinking of joining their numbers must wonder whether they can get to that standard to take them on. Last 2 or 3 years, the traditional Red Ruby Devon, the South Devon, the breeds that we're judging here this morning are making a comeback, and I suppose they have the ability to have excellent flavour of meat and a very fine grain, which people presumably are preferring when they eat it. So I mean, obviously as well, there's so many things changing in our industry, whereby we aren't relying on subsidies anymore. The money that we get for the product has got to come from the marketplace, and that's what's being noticed in the high street at the moment, and that's why so many things are changing. But they have to change in order to have a viable agriculture industry. It is the very thing that this show should be for. I think that's why it was brought in, done by our forefathers in the first place, and it's where town can meet country and try to understand the culture, which agriculture is a culture, it makes it more understandable for the person in town.
It's Nick Hunkin. Well, we're very lucky. We've got as good an entry as I think we possibly could have under the very difficult conditions the pig industry is facing at the moment. Now, this obviously revolves around the rise in cereal prices, as pigs can really only eat cereal-based foods these days, and swill is illegal. And there's nothing else you can do. With cattle and sheep, you can put them out to grass in the summer. With pigs, it's concentrates all the year round. Now, of course, at the other end, at the finishing end, the supermarkets, having bought a lot of rubbish, no, I won't say rubbish, a lot of interesting stuff from abroad, which is much cheaper than we can produce it, have artificially kept the prices low. And therefore, an awful lot of people have had to get out of pigs completely or substantially reduce them. And the supermarkets do have an effect on prices at farmers' markets, at farm gates as well. Because if you're 3 times as expensive in these outlets, you're not really going to get the amount of volume you need, so you have to really keep the prices down as low as you can. So considering we're probably about at least a third down on entries here at the Devon this year, and I think that's going to be the same with all the big shows. And I think we're very lucky to have the sort of quality we've got at all here. But there is good quality here, and people have come 200 or 300 miles. We have exhibitors from Cheshire, from the east of England here, and indeed from the Midlands. So, you know, we've had people have still come a long way to show here at the Devon.
Okay, my name is Louise Morehouse. I'm from down in the Team Valley in Doddiskins-Lee, and we run 65 pedigree Bell Texas, and we also have a flock of commercial sheep. I wanted to breed something that was slightly unique, and I saw these exhibited actually a couple of years ago at Oakhampton by a local exhibitor, and I thought, no, these were sheep for me. I liked the Belgian blue cattle, and I wanted the equivalent in the sheep world, and these are them. They're the double muscle version of sheep. They're extremely inquisitive sheep, and they make great pets, as well as also they're more sought after probably than any other breed at the moment, because their prices are quite high for selling on. Also, for meat wise, they produce a huge return, up to a 60% killing out percentage, so you get a large amount of meat for not a very big sheep.
So there you go, a very brief look at a Devon show from years ago. I'm not quite sure which year, I could easily find out, I guess. But I just thought you might like to see some of these images of the agrarians of the West Country doing what they do best, which is showing off all their wonderful animals and skills, like this guy doing a bit of sheep shearing. It's good to see. If you get a chance, when the county shows come back again, please go and take a look, because they're well worth a visit. Really, really are well worth a visit. I'd recommend the Devon and the Cornwall and the Bath and West. Okay, see you next time I make a little film.